So when I came to Colorado, I was like, whoa, that's weird. And this time for the partial hair highlight, I got a quote for $178. And I said, hey, how much are your partial highlights? And she told me, oh, it's just by the minute, however long it takes. If it's 45 minutes, it's $45. If it's an hour and a half, then it's whatever an hour and a half would be. And I was like, whoa, this is getting even weirder. And then the next day, another girl responded and I said the same thing. I just want partial highlights. I do partials, it's $135 and it always includes the haircut, whether or not you use it or not. So hello, my name's Lindsay and I just recently moved to Colorado, right outside of Colorado Springs, Woodland Park, to attend Bible college at Charis Bible College. And I've kind of vlogged my journey from moving my things from South Florida to Nashville where my parents live, and then my parents and me, we drove from Nashville to Colorado Springs, Woodland Park together. So I made 3 videos about that road trip, and I got a flat tire with my Mini Cooper, and anyway, it was just a fun adventure. So if you missed any of those, I will link them in the description below. So anyway, I've been here almost 2 weeks. I'm still kind of settling in my new place. This is my room. I'm sharing this place with 2 other roommates. Well, one's coming soon, but it'll be 3 of us. And anyway, I'm just kind of getting used to the area, to the town of Woodland Park, and just like overall Colorado culture in general, which surprisingly has been more of a culture shock than I was expecting. I almost feel like it's more different than like moving to Spain. Like when I moved to Spain, it just seemed like a perfect fit for me. But since I've been here in Colorado, I have experienced a lot of different surprises. Now, just to give you some more context, so I was raised in Nashville. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. After college, I went to Spain for about 2 years. Then I moved to South Florida for about 10-12 years on and off. I went back and forth between Nashville and Florida a lot, but I spent probably, you know, many years living in South Florida and teaching English down there. And through a series of events, I ended up finding out about this Bible college. Wasn't in my plans, didn't even know what Bible college was, and I prayed about it for about 1.5 years, and God just, you know, really had a miraculous door open for me to come and live in this house and be able to attend Bible college. But I knew moving from Nashville to Colorado would be different. Like, I anticipated the mountains, and the mountains are actually a lot bigger in real life than on a video or in a picture. Like, when you see it in real life, they are huge. But when I moved here, like, I really didn't know anybody. I knew one girl, like my roommate, but she's like super busy with work and she's got a lot going on. So I've kind of just been exploring a little bit on my own. Anyway, I've been trying to use, there's like a Facebook group for the Charis students, and just like getting people to help me with things like fixing my car, cleaning my car. And then I wanted to get my hair highlighted. So before I moved out to Colorado about 3 weeks ago, I did get my hair cut by the girl who usually cuts my hair in Nashville. And I've had other people, you know, cut it in Florida and things like that. But what I noticed was, like, you know, after I got here, I was like, well, I got probably 2 inches cut off, 2.5 inches. And like a lot of my older blonde color had kind of been cut off. So I thought, well, you know, I'll just find someone in Woodland Park to do the highlights or whatever, and I really didn't think too much about it. So I started contacting people in the Facebook group for the Bible college, because like a lot of people, there's like probably more than 3,000 people in there, and a lot of people you know, kind of promote their services. And I thought, hey, you know, I would love to support someone at Charis. So I saw this girl, she's always like promoting her, like, you know, stylist services like almost every single week. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, I'm interested in getting highlights done. Like, how much would you charge for highlights, and do you have any availability? And she's like, oh yeah, totally, like I'm getting really booked up, but I have an opening in August and it's $150. And I was like, whoa, $150? Like, just to give you context, like in Nashville and in Florida, I usually pay like 80 to 90 on average for partial highlights, which is just like kind of the top part of your head and sometimes a little on the bottom of the neck. Just depends on the stylist. But and one thing about my hair, like, it's naturally kind of blonde. It's darker blonde right now, but I grew up really blonde, so my hair's probably the easiest type of hair to give highlights to. It's not brown, it's not textured, it takes the color or the bleach really easily, and it's pretty straightforward. I have actually highlighted my hair a few times when I was in Florida, just like around the front and stuff like that. It's been like 5 or 6 years, and I really can't get the back, so I was like, oh, $150 is a little bit more than I'm used to. But I was like, okay, send me the information. So she sent me like this like confirmation, and I looked at it and it said partial hair, partial highlight, toner, cut, and blow dry. And I took a screenshot and said, oh, hey, this is including the cut. Like, I didn't want to get the cut, so maybe I was thinking that's why it's so expensive. And she responded like, oh, yeah, I always include haircuts with my highlights. That's just how it works. And I go, well, I really don't want to pay for a haircut. Like, I would rather just do the highlights so I don't have to pay for something that I'm not receiving. And then she responded, that's just how I do it. You can either get the haircut or not. And for me, like, I thought this was really strange. Like, in Florida and in Nashville, like in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Nashville, like, it's all, if you want to get a partial, you get a partial. If you want to get a haircut, you get a haircut. You can pay for them separately. I always prefer to do them separately because I don't want to sit in the chair for all that time. Like, if you go to a place, it could be easily be 2.5 hours to do both of those things. I'd rather go one day for the hair and then one day for highlights. That's just how I like to do it. And the thing is, she never told me up front that it included a haircut. And I was like, well, that kind of would have been nice to know up front, and I don't know, like, that just didn't rub me the right way. So I end up canceling with that girl, and I had reached out to a couple other people, and I think it was the next day, another girl responded, and I told her the same thing. I only want a highlight, a partial highlight, okay, not a full, just a partial, and that's it, and I don't want to get a haircut. And then she was like, oh yeah, I can do that, you know, whatever. I sent her a picture of my hair so she would know exactly what it looked like and everything. And this time for the partial hair highlight, I got a quote for $178. And I was like, wow, I cannot believe that. And then she tried to explain to me she worked with a special stylist, and she learned a special technique. For me, I kind of just like traditional highlights, so it didn't really matter to me too much. But I was like, well, 178 is a lot right now, and I really wasn't expecting that. So I said, you know, it's okay, don't worry about it, I'll just find someone else. So anyway, then she came back, and she said she was kind of open to negotiating. So she did end up negotiating it and bringing it down to like $115, $120 for just the highlights. And for me, that was still higher than I really wanted to pay, but I said, okay, that might be a good option if I can't find anything else. So then the next day I called a salon, an Aveda salon here in my town, and I said, hey, how much are your partial highlights? And she told me, oh, it's just by the minute, however long it takes. If it's 45 minutes, it's $45. If it's an hour and a half, then it's whatever an hour and a half would be. And I was like, whoa, this is getting even weirder. And then I thought to myself, well, in that case, she could just go really, really slow and then make a lot more, kind of, if she really wanted to. And then the next day, another girl responded, and I said the same thing. I just want partial highlights, and I don't want a haircut or anything. How much would that be? And she responded, she was like, oh, it's gonna be, I do partials, it's $135, and it always includes the haircut, whether or not you use it or not. And I was like, no. Like, you don't understand. Like, I'm not going to pay for something I'm not using. And it's not benefiting me in any way to make a package for something that I'm paying extra for that I'm not getting. I said, hey, how much are your haircuts? And she said between like 45 and 60. And I was like, okay, so if I take off like 60 from that price, I guess it's something like 80 or 85 or something like that, which is the normal partial highlight price to begin with. And basically all of them, if I took off the price of the haircut, it would have been between like 80 and 100 for the partial highlight, which is fine, that's normal. Like, what I just don't understand is, like, after talking to 3 people, is this a Colorado thing? Is this a Midwestern thing that they don't do partial highlights on their own? Like, they kind of inflate the price to say, oh, hey, we're giving you a bonus haircut that I actually didn't need because I already had a haircut and I'm trying to grow my hair out a little bit more. And I just found that really frustrating. And on top of that, there was one girl that was flexible, which I really did appreciate, but a lot of others were just really holding on to that fact that that's like, oh, I'm doing you a favor by including this haircut, even though I'm really charging you a whole bunch more, even though you're not using the haircut. So I'm about to edit this video, but I just wanted to clarify a few more things. I don't know if I mentioned in the video, but usually in Nashville and Florida, I pay around like 80, 90, maybe I paid 100 for like a basic partial highlight. In Miami, I have had at least a couple times where I did like more balayage style, and that was more expensive. I don't even remember how much it was, but I feel like it was reasonable compared to you know, kind of the numbers that I gave today. But that was also like several years ago. But in general, like I realized Colorado has like a higher cost of living than Tennessee probably. But I was kind of surprised that things seemed more expensive here than even like Fort Lauderdale or areas like that in Florida, which are a little bit more like, you know, it's a nice area. I was expecting, you know, maybe like 100, 110 for a partial at the most, you know, but like getting numbers like 150, 178, these were definitely more on the surprisingly shocking side for partial. Like I would understand maybe if it was for a full highlight. But anyway, I just want to clarify those numbers, you know, just coming from Nashville and Florida and even having my hair done in Miami. I usually just go to like an Aveda salon in my area. And I've had friends do my hair too that are stylists, like one girl in Florida. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I understand there has been inflation in the last year. So I'm, you know, I can understand when things are like maybe 10, 20% more than they have been in the past. I just had my hair highlighted though in Nashville in February, and I think that was like 80 or 90 for a partial highlight. So anyway, back to the video. So I don't really have any friends here. I can't really talk to anyone else about this, but I'm just like wondering, is this like a Colorado thing or a Midwestern thing where like the schools around here teach them some sort of technique to make more money by including the highlight with the haircut or something like that? I mean, they really seemed adverse to just doing highlights. So I just don't understand this mindset or where this comes from. And I'm sure I'm probably making a lot of stylists, you know, upset about this if they're from this area, but I'm just saying from a customer perspective, it's not doing us a favor to make us spend more money for something we don't use. I mean, to look at it from another perspective, imagine you were getting like 4 new tires for your car and it costs like $500, and for those tires, if you just bought the tires, but instead, you can't just buy the tires. You have to buy the tires and an oil change for an extra $100. So it's really $600. And so they say, hey, it's $600. You get these tires and the free oil change. And you're like, hey, I don't really need an oil change. Just already had my oil change 3 weeks ago. Why would I pay $100 extra for something I'm not using? Oh, that's just how it works here. Take it or leave it. And it's like you end up wasting money. If you have that type of mentality, other businesses would lose customers if they did that. So I did end up going with the girl who negotiated with me for like 115, 120, and part of it was she was a young student at the school and I could tell she was really talented, and I kind of wanted to, you know, bless her business. I said, hey, you know what, you're the only one who's worked with me, and I can tell you're really talented. And so I said, hey, you know what, like, I'm gonna spend a little bit extra, it's fine. I gave her a tip as well, and you know, overall, like, I think it looks pretty good. It looks pretty natural, just like a little bit lighter. I will insert the picture here of like how she styled my hair afterwards. It was like really beautiful. So I really appreciated her working with me, and I know some of the other girls probably work in salons where they can't be as flexible, so I don't want to necessarily point the finger at them. But even like as a Christian person, I just would be a bit hesitant to charge people for something they're not using because we want to be good stewards of our money. And on top of that, they probably are still expecting you to give them like a 20% tip. So even if it's 150, it could end up being 170 for partial highlights in total. And 70 of that, or at least 50 of that, like you didn't really get the full benefit of. So let me know in the comments section, is it typical to have a package of a partial highlight and haircut and not be able to be flexible and separate those two? Like in South Florida, everywhere I went, it was a separate, those are 2 different separate charges and 2 different separate services. Not a big deal. The same in Nashville. Even when I was in Spain, the same. So when I came to Colorado, I was like, whoa, that's weird. Is this something I'm supposed to be expecting? I don't know. I might have to go back to like teaching myself to do some highlights again if I need to. Anyway, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I don't want to come across as complaining, but I'm trying to understand this hair culture out here. Maybe it's different. Maybe this is just how the salons do it and teach their stylists to kind of, you know, promote this type of package. I don't know. I'm just trying to learn, trying to like adapt to this culture. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more videos of, you know, me in Bible college, or try and share like fun things and faith topics. So I will be talking about other topics, faith topics on this channel from like a conservative Christian perspective. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, share with a friend, and I will see you in the next video.